Evan sat at the edge of his bed, looking at the tablet in his hand. His roommate had already left for class, the morning light pouring through the cracked blinds. A notification flashed across the screen. Alien Student Exchange Program, Final. Deadline today. He raised one eyebrow. It was one of those strange school events no one really believed in. Some said it was real. Others said it was just a government test. A few students in the past claimed they met actual aliens through it. Most people thought it was a joke, but Evan had nothing to lose. He didn't have many friends. He wasn't failing, but he wasn't top of his class either. His parents lived off-world now, and he hadn't spoken to them in weeks. His days passed quietly between lectures and cafeteria lunches. No one really noticed him, so he filled out the form name, species, home planet, academic focus, emergency contact. It only took 5 minutes. He didn't even read the confirmation message that night. While everyone else was out watching the drone race, Evan stayed in his room. He cooked a small meal, read a few pages of a book, then fell asleep without setting an alarm. He didn't expect anything to come of it. The next morning, something felt wrong the moment he opened his eyes. The air was colder. The light outside. The window was different. The walls felt like they were breathing. He sat up and looked around. His roommate's bed was still empty, but the other side of the room had changed. The sheets were different. The shelves were stocked with small, unfamiliar objects. A scent like frozen metal hung in the air, and then he saw her. She stood near the window, perfectly still. Tall, quiet, silver-skinned. Her hair was white and fell straight to her waist like a curtain of light. She wore dark armor that shimmered. With tiny blue lights, and her eyes reflected everything around them. She looked straight at Evan and blinked slowly. "I am Tari," she said. Her voice was soft, clear, but not entirely human. Each word sounded like it had been translated through another language first. Evan didn't move. He sat frozen, unsure if this was a dream or something worse. She tilted her head slightly. "Are you the human designated Evan?" He nodded without thinking. "I am your roommate," she said. "Under the Cultural Peace Agreement of Earth and the Syndicate of Allied Worlds." Evan rubbed his eyes. "You're real," he whispered. She nodded again, then turned back to the window. He stood up slowly and walked toward her. He tried to smile, but her presence made it hard to think. She wasn't just strange. She was something else. Her skin looked like silver glass, and her movements were too smooth. Every part of her felt perfectly controlled. "Do you need anything?" he asked. "I do not require food," she answered, "and I have already examined the space. It is suitable for resting." Evan sat back down. Silence filled the room again. Not uncomfortable, but heavy. He had 1,000 questions, but none of them reached his mouth. Later that day, the school sent a message. "Welcome to your participation in the Galactic Exchange Program. Your roommate is a guest of honor. Treat this as both a learning and diplomatic opportunity." He went to class feeling like he had woken up in a new world. People stared when he entered with her. Tari followed silently, sitting beside him without looking at anyone else. She didn't react to the whispers. She didn't respond to questions. She only watched him in the cafeteria. She sat across from him and observed how he ate. "Why do you chew so long?" she asked. He laughed for the first time that day. "Because I like the taste," he said. She didn't laugh, but she tilted her head again, like she was filing that answer deep in her mind. That night, Evan found her still awake. She stood near the window again, watching the stars. "You don't sleep?" he asked. "Only during silence," she replied. He didn't know what that meant, but he nodded and went to bed. As he turned off the lights, he heard her speak again. "Your breath is slow now. This is how your kind enters rest," he said. "Yes." Already drifting off, the last thing he heard before sleep took him was her voice again, soft and quiet. "Your presence is acceptable." He smiled without opening his eyes. Maybe this would be interesting after all. But what he didn't know was that across the stars, on her homeworld, A message had already been sent. Subject shows early compatibility. Bonding potential confirmed. Phase 2 may begin. Tari stood in the hallway, unmoving, while students rushed around her. Some stared, some whispered, but none of them got close. She didn't flinch when a door slammed behind her. She didn't blink when a drone flew overhead. She was focused on one thing only. Evan. He walked 3 steps ahead of her, holding a datapad, looking for his classroom. He turned and glanced back. "You don't have to follow me everywhere," he said, half smiling. "I do," she replied without emotion. "Why?" he asked. She paused, then answered with care. "I was assigned to observe, and you are the subject of study." Evan sighed, not annoyed, but unsure what to do with that. Answering the classroom, she sat beside him again. No one else took the seats near them. She watched how he held his pen. She copied how he sat. She even mirrored how he adjusted his collar when the professor asked a question. She raised her hand and answered with perfect detail, even though the topic was human literature. No one clapped, no one smiled. They only stared. After class, she followed Evan to the cafeteria. He filled his tray with simple food, bread and soup. She took nothing. "You're really not hungry?" he asked. "I do not require digestion today," she answered. He sat down, and she sat across from him like before. Her silver blue eyes never moved from his face. Her presence was calm, but strange. "You know, people are starting to talk," Evan said. "What are they saying?" she asked. He hesitated, then replied, "That you're watching me too closely. That it's weird." She tilted her head. "They do not understand the purpose of pairing," she said. "What pairing?" he asked. She didn't answer that night. Evan returned to the dorm early. The sky outside was clear, stars shining like white sparks over the city towers. When he opened the door, he found Tari standing by the window again. She turned to face him. "I studied more of your customs today," she said. "Like what?" Evan asked. She stepped forward, holding a tablet in her hand. It showed a list of human behaviors and meanings. One word was highlighted in red: attachment. "This term is unclear," she said. Evan laughed softly. "It just means you care about someone, that you feel close to them." Tari looked down at the word again. "Is it required for cohabitation?" she asked. "No," Evan said, "but it makes life easier." She nodded, then placed the tablet down and stepped back. Later that night, Evan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the way she had said the word. Not like a student, more like someone trying to feel something they didn't understand. He walked quietly to the small desk where she kept her things. He wasn't going to touch anything. He just wanted to look. That's when he saw Ida's sketch on a thin sheet of paper. His own face, drawn with careful lines. His eyes, his jaw, even the fold of his shirt. The drawing was simple, but full of quiet detail. He stepped back. She had been studying him, not just for learning, but something deeper. He returned to his bed, unsure of what to say in the morning, but he didn't have to wait long. When the sun rose, she was already awake, sitting on the edge of her bed, hands resting on her lap. She looked at him. "I had a dream," she said. "Alien's dream?" he asked. "Only when confused," she replied. "What did you dream about?" he asked again. "I saw you walk into the stars and disappear," she said softly. Evan sat up, looking at her with new eyes. "And how did you feel?" he asked. "I did not like it," she said. He didn't speak. Neither did she, but something between them had shifted, and neither of them could explain it. The campus festival had returned after 4 years. Flags hung from the rooftops, lights blinked across buildings, and students from Earth and other planets filled the grounds with music, food, and loud excitement. Evan wasn't planning to attend. Crowds made him nervous, and big events never felt like his place. But Tari wanted to go. She had heard about the festival in her cultural studies class, and told Evan that observing human celebration patterns was necessary for her research. He agreed. Even though he didn't believe her, that evening, they walked side by side under glowing lanterns shaped like stars. Evan wore his usual black jacket. Tari wore a long silver robe that shimmered under the lights. Everyone stared, but she didn't. Seemed to care booths lined the streets with alien crafts, art, and rituals. Each species brought something from home. Some offered food. Others showed ancient dances. A few taught short phrases in forgotten languages. Tari stopped at one booth and pointed. My people call this the ceremony of alignment. She said on the table were two glass bowls filled with liquid light. Between them, a single thread floated. In the air, it pulsed with a soft blue glow. This represents connection between minds, she said. Two people hold the bowls and speak their name. The thread recognizes the truth. It is used during our joining season. Evan looked at it, curious. So it's a bonding ritual? He asked. Yes, she replied. But this is a display. It is symbolic only. Would you like to try it? He shrugged and stepped forward. Sure. Why not? Tari picked up one bowl. Evan picked up the other. They looked at each other. Her eyes were steady. His heart beat faster. She spoke first. Tari, daughter of Uren. He followed. Evan Cole, son of Martin and Lyra. The thread between the bowls pulsed brighter. Then it shifted color, first blue, then gold, then white. People nearby stopped talking. The vendor's smile faded. Evan looked down at the bowl in his hands. Is this normal? He asked. Tari said nothing. The thread split into two and wrapped gently around their wrists. The vendor's eyes widened. This isn't a display anymore. He sighed. That thread has chosen recognition. It's forming a living bond. Evan stepped back, trying to pull his hand away, but the thread held firm. What does that mean? He asked, trying not to raise his voice. Tari was staring at the thread now. Her voice low and calm. It means we are joined under the law of my people. This is not reversible without great cost. A professor from the Alien Relations Department arrived within minutes. She examined the thread and confirmed it. The ritual was real, she said. The bowls were active. Someone must have activated them without permission. Evan felt his chest tighten. It was supposed to be a demo. Tari looked at him, her expression unreadable. You spoke your name with truth. The bond responded. It is not the same as human marriage, but it is public. It is binding. He looked around. Dozens of students were watching now. Phones were recording. People whispered his name. You're saying I'm now bonded to you? He asked. She nodded. In the eyes of my people, yes. Evan turned away, trying to breathe. Tari reached toward him, not to stop him, but just to be close. I did not plan this, she said. But I am not against it either. The thread around their wrists faded slowly, leaving a faint shimmer behind. Evan walked back to his dorm in silence. Tari followed but didn't speak that night. As he sat alone on his bed, his tablet blinked with a message. Galactic Registry Notice. Bond confirmed. Human. Participant. Evan Cole. Status. Active. His chest felt heavy. He thought it would go away by morning, but when he looked at Tari, standing quietly by the window again, her eyes already waiting for his, he knew something had changed, something that couldn't be undone. Evan hadn't slept. The light outside had changed from deep blue to orange, but he had barely moved from his bed. The message from the Galactic Registry stayed on his screen, glowing like it was watching him. Bond confirmed. He kept reading those 2 words again and again, hoping they would change. Tari had not spoken since last night. She stood near the window, as always, her posture calm, her breath steady. She didn't ask questions. She didn't offer answers. When Evan finally stood up, she turned to face him. We need to talk, he said. She replied he didn't know where to begin. I never agreed to be bonded for real, he said. I didn't understand the ritual. I thought it was just a display. Tari gave a slow nod. I believe the same. But the thread chose you, not because of ritual, because of what it sensed inside you. That's not fair, Evan replied. It's not how things work here. We choose when to love. We choose who to be with. Tari stepped forward, her voice quiet. My people do not speak of love until it grows strong enough to stand alone. That thread only forms when the potential Is already there. Evan shook his head. This isn't a matter of potential. This is real. This affects my life, my studies, everything. Tari looked at him for a long moment. Then you wish to break it? She asked. He didn't answer right away. I think so, he said. I think it's better for both of us. Tari didn't speak. She simply walked back to her side of the room and sat on the edge of her bed. Her hands rested on her knees. Her head tilted slightly downward. Evan left the room and went straight to the program office. The building was quiet, but the counselor on duty was already expecting him. We received the confirmation last night, the counselor said. You're now listed as part of a cross-species bond. That's rare. You're only the 5th student it's happened to. I want out of it, Evan said. There has to be a reversal process. There is, the counselor replied. But it requires consent from both parties. And it involves a formal rejection in front of her homeworld tribunal. Evan stared at him. A tribunal, he asked. Yes. The counselor said, they take bonds seriously. If you reject her, she must accept it in public. If she does not accept it, the tribunal may declare the bond disputed. That process is long. Painful. For her, not you. Evan left the office without saying another word that night. Tari wasn't by the window. She was lying on her bed, looking at the ceiling. Her hands were folded across her chest when he entered. She turned her head slightly. I was told you made the request, she said. Evan sat on the edge of his bed, looking down at the floor. Do you hate me now? He asked. She blinked slowly. No, she said. I am only confused. And hurt. He turned toward her. You barely know me. You don't even understand what love means to humans. Tari sat up. Then teach me, she said. Let me understand it. Because I know how I feel when you speak, when you laugh, when you look at me without fear. These feelings are not logic. They are not duty. They are something else. Evan couldn't find the words. Tari walked to her small desk and pulled out another sketch. She handed it to him. It was the two of them, standing together under the stars, her posture relaxed. His smile wide. She looked at him and spoke with a voice almost trembling. I thought you were just kind. I thought you were just assigned to me. But the more I watched you, the more I understood what softness means, what care means. You do things without being told. You help without reason. And I felt that pull. Evan stared at the drawing. Then at her. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. I know. She whispered. The room stayed quiet for a long time outside. A new message had already reached Tari's homeworld bond, flagged for termination. Tribunal date pending. But inside the dorm, something had shifted again. Evan didn't send another request that night, and Tari, for the first time since arriving, closed her eyes and slept without watching the stars. Evan returned to the dorm late. His mind was tired. His steps were slow. He opened the door and found the room empty. Tari's bed was neatly made. Her sketches were gone. Her armor was missing from the rack. He turned in a full circle, searching for a note, a message, anything. But there was nothing. Then his tablet beeped. Urgent notice, alien exchange bond dispute. Student Tari has been summoned by her homeworld. Transport initiated. His chest felt hollow. He grabbed his jacket and ran across campus, pushing past students, ignoring their looks. He didn't stop until he reached the transport bay. Security drones hovered in the air. Staff from the galactic office were already gathered. A small craft was docked on the landing pad. Its doors were open. Tari stood near the entrance, her face calm, her eyes quiet. Evan rushed forward, but two guards blocked him. I need to talk to her, he said. You are not authorized, one of them replied. I don't care, he said louder. She's my bond partner. You don't get to take her like this. The guards looked at each other, then stepped aside. Tari turned as he approached. Her eyes met his. There was no anger, no blame. Just sadness. I was going to tell you, she said. But I knew you would. Try to stop it. You were right, he replied. Because this is wrong. This is all wrong. She stepped closer. My people believe that bonds must be clear. If one side hesitates, the bond is declared unstable. I am to appear before the tribunal and agree to end it. And if you don't, Evan asked, then they begin the process of memory cutting. She said, his voice dropped. What is that? Tari. Look down. They remove the part of me that remembers you. The bond fades, but the scar stays. It is rare. It is painful. Evan stepped forward. You're not doing that. You're not walking into that chamber like we were nothing. Because we were not nothing. She looked at him. You wanted to break the bond, she said. You asked to leave it. I made a mistake, he said. I didn't understand what this meant, but I do now. You were the first person who ever looked at me like I was worth watching. You made me feel seen. You made me feel known. Tari looked into his eyes. You feel something now, she asked. He said. And I don't want to lose you before I even had the chance to know you fully. The tribunal officer stepped forward, human Evan Cole. Do you wish to contest the bond termination in front of the council? Yes, he said without hesitation. Then, you must stand with her before the tribunal, the officer said. Your case will be heard. But if your claim is false, the punishment is shared. I don't care. Evan replied. Tari's fingers trembled for the first time. She reached for his hand. You would stand before my people for me? She asked. I would. He said. She held his hand tighter. Then I will not walk into that room alone. The transport doors closed behind them as the ship rose from Earth's surface. Students and staff gathered near the window walls of the tower. They watched in silence as the craft vanished into the sky. Some whispered that the human had gone mad. Others stayed quiet, unsure of what to believe. But in one corner of the observation deck, a professor who had once bonded with a being from the outer rings smiled gently and whispered to herself. He finally understood. The ship landed on a quiet platform made of smooth black stone. The sky above was deep purple. A giant moon hovered low in the sky, casting silver light over the palace below. Evan stepped out first. The air was heavier than Earth's. Every breath felt thicker. But it wasn't the air that made it hard to breathe. It was the feeling that eyes were already watching him. Tari walked beside him, dressed in ceremonial robes. Her long silver hair was tied behind her shoulders. She kept her head high, her steps even. But Evan saw the way her fingers twitched slightly with each step. She was afraid, and she wasn't the only one. Were led into a wide circular chamber. The walls were carved with symbols that glowed faintly. Tall figures in dark robes stood in a circle around a raised platform. At the center stood the tribunal chair, an elder female of Tari's species. Her face was sharp, her eyes bright with knowledge and judgment. The room fell silent as the elder stepped forward. Tari of House Uren, she said. You are called here to settle the matter of an unstable bond. Do you accept this hearing? I do, Tari replied without looking. Away, human Evan Cole, the elder said, turning toward him. You are far from your world. You stand accused of creating a false bond without intent to honor it. Do you also accept this hearing? I do, Evan answered. The elder raised her hand. A glowing thread appeared between them, floating above the platform. It shimmered with both gold and pale blue. This bond still breathes, she said. It is not broken, but its strength is unclear. If the human does not confirm intention, the bond will be dissolved. She turned to Evan again. You may speak now. Why should this bond remain? Evan took a slow breath and stepped forward. I didn't grow up thinking I'd ever speak in front of an alien tribunal, he said. But I did grow up knowing what it feels like to be invisible. He looked at Tari. She never treated me like that. Even when I had nothing to offer, even when I said the wrong things. She saw me. He turned back to the tribunal. You think I don't understand what this bond means? But I do now. It means staying even when it's hard. It means choosing to learn instead of walking away. It means seeing someone not just for their species or rules, but for who they are. He paused, then spoke again. I don't know everything about Tari's world, but I want to. And I don't want to go back to mine without her. The chamber stayed. Silent, the elder looked at Tari. Do you believe this bond is now true? She asked. Tari nodded. I do, she said. He didn't come here to save me. He came here to stand with me. That is enough. A new figure stepped forward. A younger tribunal judge. If the bond continues, it becomes part of our records. A human will be listed in our ancestral registry. This is not reversible. You still wish to proceed? Evan stepped beside Tari. Yes, he said. I choose it, not by mistake, not by accident, but because I want this. I want her. The golden thread between them turned bright white. The elder raised both hands. The bond has shifted. It is now complete. A symbol appeared on the ground, beneath their feet. It pulsed once, then faded. Tari reached for his hand again. This time, she didn't let go when they walked out of the chamber. The wind felt different, softer, warmer. The sky seemed closer. Evan looked at her. I came all the way here, he said. And I still don't know what half those glowing symbols meant. Tari smiled for the first time. They said we are one now. The platform was quiet as the ship returned to Earth's orbit. Evan stood near the viewing window, his reflection barely visible in the glass. He watched the blue curve of the planet grow larger beneath them. Behind him, Tari sat in her seat, hands folded over her lap. She was still dressed in the ceremonial robe. Her expression was calm, but her eyes kept finding him. When the ship landed, the gates opened slowly. The school tower came into view. It looked smaller than he remembered. Familiar, but different. They stepped out together. Students crowded around the docking platform. Some looked surprised. Some whispered. Others simply stared. No one had expected Evan to come back with her. No one had expected him to hold her hand in front of everyone. But he did. Tari stood beside him without hiding her face, without breaking eye contact. The symbol of their completed bond glowed softly against her wrist. It was visible now. A permanent mark made by choice. Dean Harris stepped forward from the crowd, holding a datapad. He looked at both of them and nodded once. Welcome home, he said. Evan smiled faintly. Feels different now, he replied. It should, the dean said. You've made history. Reporters tried to push forward, but the staff held them back. Everyone wanted to know how a simple student from Earth had ended up bonded with someone from one of the most private warrior species in the galaxy. But Evan didn't need to explain. He walked through the crowd with Tari beside him. Their steps were in sync. Their silence said more than any words. At the dorm, their room was untouched. The window still faced the same direction. The books, the desk, the small items Tari had collected, all remained as they left them. She walked in first and looked around. I thought I would never see this again, she said softly. Evan placed his bag down and looked at the old bond notice still glowing on the screen. He smiled and turned it off. Let's make new memories, he said. That evening, they sat by the window for the first time together. Evan watched the stars. Tari watched him. He turned to her and spoke quietly. When I first signed up for the exchange program, I thought I was just being curious. I didn't expect anything. I didn't know you. I didn't know myself. Tari rested her hand over his. You know now, she said. I do, he replied. They didn't need anything else. Not more words, not more explanations, just presence. And for the first time since the program began, a human and an alien didn't just share space. They shared understanding. They shared choice. He had signed up alone now. He wasn't walking through life the same way. He wasn't alone anymore.